execute the commands as. We have a set of tasks that we're going to be executing. So here you can see here's these different set of tasks that we're executing. This first one is this name. So this first one is a task that's named ensure Apache is at the latest version. So we have our yum. Again, notice we don't have to execute pure SSH commands. Ansible gives us this kind of nice little wrapper around some common services. So against the yum service, we can say, okay, make sure that HTTPD is at the latest version. We do that. It then ensures Apache is running. That's our next task. Against that service, right, there's a service SSH, there's a service command or service, CLI. We call it HTTPD. We make sure that it's started. That state gives us the ability to say, what state do we want this service in when we end this task? You can have restarted, started, stopped, quit. There's some other variations of this. And then you can see this handler at the end says, okay, at the end, after both of these tasks have executed, let's just go ahead and restart Apache. I want to pause there because that was a fair bit into the presentation and see if there's like any like quick questions around like how these YAML files work and operate. I'm not hearing anyone, so I'm going to assume no and go on. Ansible has the availability to provide you with variables, loops, truth evaluations, wins, blocks, and block level errors. So if we go back to this load Apache, those vars, you can pass in those vars from your configuration level system. So if you want to say for my local web servers, I want to only have max clients of like 10. For my production, I want to have a max clients of 500. And for my development environment, I only want to have a max clients of 50. You can totally do that. You can pass in those variables and it'll totally work and make sense. Variables can be specified both by the environment that you're setting this up. So you can set up multiple pass-throughs of variables where you can say, hey, I have, sorry, my wife was texting me. You can say I have, you know, for the dev environment, I want to use this variable, and you can specify that at that sort of level. You can do loops, so you can loop around and you can say, hey, we want to execute this X number of times, or we want to pass in this sort of thing X number of times. You can loop over servers where you can say, hey, I want to loop over all these servers and execute this set of operations across these servers. You can say, hey, I want to run Composer. Maybe it's I want to run a checksum against something, you know, 5 times because I really need to verify that this thing operates in this particular manner. You can do truth evaluation. This is really, really useful. A thing that I didn't show here in each of these YAML files, but you can have basically a thing on each of these that says, oh, if this fails, failed my Ansible build. And that is extremely useful. You can also have a thing where it says, hey, this is allowed to fail because I don't care about it, but it's still kind of important. You can also do the sort of truth evaluation where you can say, well, if this fails in my production servers, that's really bad. But if this fails in my development servers, I don't really care about that. I'm not exactly sure when that scenario might come up, but you can envision this sort of thing where you're like, oh, yeah, in my development servers, if I can't pull down the code from GitHub, it's not the end of the world because I'm loading in code like another way, or like GitHub's kind of flaky. So I don't want to worry about that. Maybe I have the code hosted in 2 places where I have it available in GitHub and I have it hosted in my own private enterprise version of GitHub or something along those lines. You can do these wins. So you can say, you know, when X happens, I want to do Y. So when I'm in the development environment, I want to do Y. When I'm in this environment, I want to do this other thing. That's obviously very useful. Blocks and block level errors are somewhat of that same variation of this idea of I have a set of tasks And if this task doesn't execute 100%, I want to fail out. I want to have some sort of exception handling here to say, hey, this thing didn't work and I need to quit. Yeah. Ansible Vault is their tool for handling this configuration management. It is a locally encrypted and decrypted secrets manager. It uses SHA something or another, or AES or something. I don't remember off the top of my head. But it's a local file that you just encrypt and decrypt at runtime. You can store secrets and load it into Ansible at runtime. So for instance, if we go back to this playbook and we needed to drop in and say we're setting up our, generic PHP environment and we're copying over our environment file, and we have some secrets that we identify, say the database password. You can load those in at runtime from you can say pull in this value from the vault. So that's how you can store your database password. Same thing is true when you're spinning up your database server. You can load in that database password to the database server and say, hey, create my default user with this username and this, new password that I'm passing into you. Same is true if you're doing this sort of stuff where you're setting up. Here's where this type of evaluation and these wins can be really helpful. You could envision this where you say, hey, am I spinning up a new database server, or do I have an existing database server? If I have a new database server, when database server is brand new, I want to create this new user account. If I have an existing database server, let's just verify that this user is available. That's that sort of logic of being able to do these sorts of wins in truth evaluation. You also have the ability to run ad hoc commands. So from your local computer or wherever you're having your manager node, that manager node can execute some ad hoc commands against the inventory. So you can say, I'm in Ansible and I want to be able to restart all servers, right? You could execute that command. This is the sort of one-off operation that you would most likely do. You could say, oh, our DNS is getting, I don't know, something went flaky with something and we have to shut down a service. Let's say, I don't know, I'm GitHub and I had a bunch of, I don't know if anyone was on GitHub today, but GitHub had a bunch of issues and maybe some process went crazy and they needed to restart all their servers, right? They could run a command that says Ansible restart all web servers or something along those lines. This isn't the sort of thing that I would envision most people would do very often, but it is also very useful and nice if you have this sort of thing where you have like these cluster of services that you need to be able to toggle on and off on occasion. That sort of ability can be very, very useful. Dynamic inventory, right? So we saw the inventory file earlier. There we go, right? This doesn't really provide much of the ability for the idea to have this concept of like, hey, I have servers and they're hosted in AWS and maybe they scale up and scale down because I'm using whatever, I can't remember off the top of my head, Amazon's dynamic scaling service. You can still do that. Ansible does have the ability to support this sort of dynamic inventory. It basically does it through providing some wrappers around either LDAP, Cobbler, which is their own custom dynamic inventory management system, and then some other cloud-based inventory management systems, including whatever AWS and GCP's stuff is. So if you're using any of those standard cloud providers, Ansible will totally support if you have the ability or the desire or need to have this sort of dynamic inventory. Long story short, Ansible is a really solid, really easy to use, I think, in a lot of ways, because it's just English language YAML scripts to enable you to create servers and any underlying service on that said server. You can then configure that server and any of the underlying services, and then deploy said servers into various environments. If that's the sort of tool that you're looking for, I think Ansible is really great. The one thing that does make Ansible a little bit of a challenge is because it is just like YAML files, it can feel a little confusing as to exactly the logic that is ongoing, because it doesn't feel like you're writing software code. It can feel very much of like, I do this and then I do this, then this file runs, but this thing does this thing. And there's not a real great debugging process. I'll also say, having had some experience with some of these other tools, none of these have great debugging processes. They're all just kind of like run it and see what happened. Some of them have some testing systems, but all of them at the end of the day kind of like come down to, in many ways, run it and see if it worked properly, which is not a great debugging or verification process. But I think Ansible does have a lot of advantages there, in that it's at least fairly straightforward. It's not a lot of confusing sort of stuff. It's very just like straightforward, it's an English language YAML code. And for the vast, like 90% of the things that you might execute on a server where you're just running like app commands or installing these PHP extensions or even installing PECL extensions or anything like that, installing stuff from pip, installing, stuff from, I don't know, wherever. It's all very straightforward and feels very simple and sort of very natural almost. That's kind of all. There's my Twitter, there's my GitHub, there's my website. I do videos with LinkedIn Learning. I'll also say, if you're, needing a job, or you're, considering that you're needing to, like, you want to brush up on your skills because you're worried about this, I personally think LinkedIn Learning is a really good place. It is a place that does cost money. There's lots of other places as well, but I do like LinkedIn Learning, and not just because I make money when you watch my videos from there. And I'm trying to turn off the... There we go.
Great presentation. Yeah, I'll do a virtual clap.
I'll clap myself. If does anyone have any questions that they would like to ask or pose or anything else?
I have a question. Kind of two questions, actually. The first question is about like examples and kind of going on the modules concept. Not really provisioning related, but I am a fan of Terraform, and they have a concept of modules. And there's a lot of open source GitHub projects out there that you can leverage to quickly get up, an EC2 cluster or whatever, right? Are there similar recipes out there, popular groups, open source communities that push Ansible playbooks that are good to look at, or is it just kind of scattered right now?
Yeah, unfortunately, there's not a lot. There is this, I think if I go here, there's some very, very generic examples in the Ansible, documentation. The Ansible docs are not like the greatest in the world. I'll say that. They're kind of, they feel very enterprisey, right? There is this Ansible Galaxy, I think is what they call it. I'm trying to remember. Ansible Galaxy, where they're supposed to have, is it AWS? Yeah, Ansible Galaxy is an online community for using and resharing. So you can see they do have like this, in much the same way of Terraform, of like, here's some standard, like, I have a database and I want to, I want to set up and install a MongoDB setup. Like, here's a very standard sort of like module to handle. I want to deal with a MongoDB setup and whatnot. It's okay. I think it could use some improvements. It's definitely one of their weaker areas. I don't think Terraform's necessarily is that much better per se. Like, they're all kind of fine. The problem that you run into is, as with all this stuff, is like, everyone's their own special little snowflake
Yeah,
when it comes to servers. So
Um, the other question is about other provisioning tools out there and what I guess what popularity there is. So just speaking on my experience, years ago, I got introduced to Puppet, and I believe it has to have like a master node, and it has to have an agent running on each node and things like that. And I found it very confusing. And it was great and when it worked, but when it didn't, it was a lot of like, hair pulling and things like that to get it to behave properly. And ever since I started using Ansible, albeit just for simple things, I haven't used it necessarily for complex like different workers and processes or whatever. I've just kind of used it like on one server and running one playbook on one server sort of thing. It was very easy. And for me to add something new to the playbook was also very straightforward. Are a lot of the other provisioning tools kind of going to the wayside now um, in favor of Ansible, or is there still quite the community for these other provisioning tools like Chef? I want to think is probably another one, right?
yeah, I'll say I don't know well enough. Like I'm not in this community well enough to like really provide a good answer for that. Of like, is Ansible more popular than Chef or Puppet or any of these other things, or is it less popular per se? I'll Yeah, I'll say that much. I just don't know. I'm not in that like DevOpsy community enough to really like give a good decent answer to it. I'll say this, right? Like our DevOps team is actually moving away from Ansible. Um, and they're going to Terraform and Chef Terraform and Chef for a variety of reasons, mostly just because it's like what they have knowledge and experience with. Um, we still are using Ansible, but it's like not going to be a large part of our stack going forward. But as I've dived into it more, I appreciate it a lot more than Terraform per se, because it's especially that aspect of whenever I was working with the Ansible code, it's all very straightforward, very easy. I updated all of our boxes from PHP 7.1, yes, to PHP 7.3. And it took me like 2 minutes to do that sort of work because we had it all very nicely abstracted and whatnot. And I was like looking at our code that we have for some existing boxes through like Puppet to do that sort of work, or Chef to do some of that work, and it was not quite as straightforward. It looked to be a little more than 30 minutes of work, as opposed to the Ansible was like 30 minutes of work. So, yeah.
Yeah, I noticed that it kind of has a lot to do with the culture in your sysadmin or DevOps, department and what they want to choose. Because I remember us wanting to use Puppet, all the developers, and our sysadmins were like, "Oh, we want to use Bash scripts," and with even Terraform using like user data to run Bash scripts or whatever on the server to provision it seems very flaky. What was great about Ansible is it like maybe not guarantees, but it definitely gave you feedback whether everything ran successfully or not.
Yeah, and I'll say like that is a pure Ansible. I think has a much better like debugging process. Like it is much more obvious when stuff fails, and it gives you, I think, much better feedback when something fails. Um, at least for myself personally, like that's what I found to be extremely useful.
Sweet. Awesome. Do we have any other questions for Justin before we move on to the next presentation? All right. See, let me check the chat here. Yep. Got a comment that says LinkedIn Learning is great. So are Justin's courses. So go check out Justin's courses and go watch those. I know you've got quite a few on there, right?
Yep.
Sweet. All right. So next up is Manny. We are going to be covering WooCommerce with him. I figured also the dog is going to be helping out.
Yeah, that's my assistant number one.
Yeah.
Assistant number two is sleeping right next to me here.
Oh, okay. Probably a little quieter than Justin's cats.
Wow, I don't know. I hope so. I hope there's no cats outside or something like that.
They might start freaking out. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to tap Manny actually for this WooCommerce talk just because you know, it's probably a good idea to know how to set up a store, you know, and you know, whether it's not something we use, it could be something we recommend to someone that if they would like to go online. One thing after this crisis hit is I noticed a lot of local businesses didn't have websites or stores. So
Yeah.
love to jump into it and hand off things to Manny here.
Yeah, believe it or not, I've been super busy now because I think a lot of people realize that they had to have an online store. And I lost one client, but on the other hand, I have like 3 new ones, you know, that wants to have an online store like as soon as possible, right, for them. So what I did, let me see if I can share my screen here. Can you guys hear me fine? Do you hear me fine, Josh?
Yep.
All right. So how do I share my screen here?
On the bottom left, I believe that says.
Yeah. So what I did when Josh asked me to do this presentation, I went in through, a bunch of you guys already know me, but for those that don't know me yet, I co-organize a bunch of meetups, and I actually was looking here at my profile. Can you guys see my screen?
Yeah.
This is no April Fool's joke. 15 years on meetup.com now. Long time. I'm a web dinosaur. So I've been doing web stuff since the very beginning, and a lot of online. I did my first online store in 1997 using Perl and text files because there was no databases yet back in the day. You know? And when Josh asked me about this, I went here into the previous presentations that I gave, and I was looking at them and seeing which one actually would be good for this moment that we are living right now. You know? And one that I think it's very important. It's not that technical, but sometimes we miss a lot of information, a lot of stuff that we need. Because when these people, they came to me, those 3 people, 3 businesses, I want to have my an online store. And then the first question that I asked back to them is, are you ready to have an online store? And usually they don't know if they are ready or not, right? They say, oh, I don't know. So I want to go through this one first, and then I have another one that is more specific to commerce. But this one is more generic for any kind of online store owner that want to go online, right? So I gave this presentation before at the WooCommerce meetup here in Vegas. And I think it's important. What do you think, Josh? Do you think it would be a cool one to go through this one first? And then I think that we can go through both.
Sounds good.
Right? Yeah. So I already introduced myself. I did my first sale when I was 7 years old, and I just made money enough to buy a kite and call it a day, you know. I've been doing a lot of WooCommerce stores online. I did do shopping carts from scratch myself that I don't want to do anymore. Like this one is one of them, and I like to code, but I think I'm getting lazy or getting old. I don't want to do this anymore. No, all of this is code that I wrote myself, so it's very hard to maintain, difficult to be up to date, and all that. And most recent, this is one of the websites that I'm working right now. It's in WooCommerce. They have the same features that I built here for, to get the car fitment and all that, but built into WooCommerce. And one of the questions that usually people that know about WooCommerce and all the other e-commerce stores out there say, oh, WooCommerce can't scale, right? So let me show you this. Do you see this? 1 million products. This store. It's kind of nice, right? And a lot. I'm still working on this site. It's not done yet. And of course, there is like Redis, cache, and a bunch of things behind here. But still, it's a work in progress. And I did this way faster than what I did on the other one. So let me pick one car here. So you see, I can filter the products, and it's kind of quite fast for, you know, a million products, right? So going back to my slides here, what I want to talk about today, before I actually jump into WooCommerce, is a lot of things that people miss before they start selling, you know. And I had projects, IT projects that fail, and I guess you guys also had projects that fail. So I'm linking here to an interesting article about this. And most of the time, as you can see on the picture right there, is because, like, when I have a customer that comes to me that they want to make an online store, usually they only think about the top of the iceberg. They forget about a lot of stuff that is in back end that I ask them, and they say, oh, I didn't think about that. Oh, I missed that one. And stuff that actually you need to know and learn before you actually have a profitable e-commerce website running, right? So it's important to tell for us to we probably already know this, but it's important for the client to know that, you know, we need to have all of this in place, right? A backup and restore plan, a CDN if it's a very busy store, get a domain name, email and email marketing stuff, financial integration, let's say with Stripe or, you know, authorize.net, fulfillment information, stuff that you may need to send to, you know, to the carriers, getting a really good hosting account, inventory management, how we're gonna sync those products information, having a merchant account on a bank. And this is not in order here, but it's just stuff that you need to know, you know, in product development, who's gonna, you know, maintain these things. If you have like subscription products, SEO, very important to know, you know, on page and off page. Security too, because once you are, you know, dealing with transactions, you want to make sure that, you know, everything is safe and secure. Shipping accounts and manage social media, tax regulations. This is actually something that people miss a lot. You know, they forget about this until it's like kind of late, about the sales tax. Test the checkout process a lot. I do test my checkout process a lot. You know, almost like every day I go there and place like a test order in production to make sure that, you know, I'm getting sales. Make sure that I set up Search Console. And then is when you actually go do the web design, web development, web maintenance, and the website management, right? And make sure that so how complex this could be. You know, I got this graphic from Kenny. Kenny is he runs a company called Neon Brand in town, and a bunch of other meetups too, the SEO meetup and the social media meetup. And I don't know if you guys can see this. Let me see if I can maximize this. Make this bigger here. This is a very interesting graphic on the information that you need to do for SEO, like on-page and off-page stuff, right? And this is only one piece of the puzzle, right? You want to rank well, or that your site rank well, so you drive traffic to it. Because this is not like is it Field of Dreams, that movie? That, you know, they build the field and then people show up, right? It's not like that. You have to think about, once you build your store, that you go over all of this so you rank well your store and you have customers. So why does this matter? Because it's something that you have to, you know, break those pieces into this big problem into smaller pieces and then solve them one by one. So what I do with my clients, right? When they come with me, usually I like when they go when we do this kind of stuff. You know, it's actually an e-commerce discovery phase, not only a website discovery phase, but it could be for a website too. So I break down that problem into 7 main categories, right? The project, the business, the customer, I mean my customer's customer, right? The look and feel and functionality, the content, the go live steps, the budget, and the timeline. And I'm gonna go in details on each one of those. Then we go back to specific to WooCommerce and running an e-commerce store. So why is the project purpose important? Now, if they can't answer these questions up front, there is a lot more work helping my potential clients figure out about themselves before doing website design and development tasks. So why I ask them, why should someone visit your website? And I explain to them the unique selling proposition. It's very important to understand that concept. And I link here to a really cool article later on. I'm going to share those slides with you guys so you can take a look. So why should someone buy from you or not from another store, right? So what does your site offer them that other sites do not? What is your competitive advantage? Those kind of things are important. So continue here. Sometimes, have you ever done a focus group? This is for more larger websites, larger clients. But have you tested the product? Have you give your product to people so they can play with it and see how it goes? What goals do you have set up? Then this is a kind of important thing because sometimes you have to map this to your Google Analytics account so you can measure those KPI. What do you want to accomplish? Is that what your clients want to accomplish, buy and learn? So because this is one of the main really important questions, because sometimes the business owner has a different perspective than the customers. So you have to see from the customer's perspective to build this kind of stuff. Another thing too, they forget about this. Now, how will the site navigation work? How do they gonna browse this? How are they gonna search for products, find products, and this kind of stuff? So and by the way, I made this. This is also available. I think this is available on GitHub if you want to contribute to those questions or make any corrections or stuff here or suggestions. All those questions, I've been building this for the past 20 years. This is something that I've been involved in, and sometimes depending on whatever they answer me here, I may ask different questions to them too. So it's just questions that it's good to know so you are on the same page with your client, right? So what I want to know about the business, and why it's important, because it will tell me how much thought they have given to their own company, business, service, and products to make sure that they are serious about it, right? And then I ask them those questions. What can you tell me about your company? What about your products, your service, your team? What do you do? Actually, what you do and what you make right? What's your price point? And this is important too. And the average order value, cost per lead, sale, acquisition. And then here I'm going to give one example. Why this is important? First, I run this custom wheels store, right? Online store. And I know as a fact that the average order for my clients are between $1,500 and $2,000. So if I know that I know that at this price point, nobody's gonna buy on impulse. It's not like buying a pizza, right? They're gonna do their research. They're gonna take some time to find the competition and maybe convince the wife to buy a new custom wheels, especially now in those times. So it's important for you to understand, and also this is important from the marketing perspective, because this guy may spend $1,500 on this. He may spend also $1,500 on a sound system for your car or something like that. And also for you to understand how much you can spend on marketing, on pay-per-click campaigns, right? And so then I ask those questions to see if they know the numbers too. If you guys ever watch the Shark Tank, they say, it's very important to know the numbers, right? So I ask them, what's your gross profit? What who does what on your team, what's your company values, what promises you make, do you currently have a mailing list, how active are you on social media. It's about the business. Then next step is the customer. I want to know about my customer's customer, right? So why is important? Very often, first-time website owners build to their tastes instead of their audience and customers. This is one, like the one, I think is probably the number 2 mistake. The number one, I'm gonna tell you later on what it is. The number 2 mistake from when someone approaches me to build a website, because instead of focusing on the customer, they do to please themselves, not to please the customer. So I see this very, very often. So I ask them, who does the site serve? What's their occupation and income? What transportation they use? How do they dress? How old are they? And why this kind of information is important to me? Because sometimes, and most of the time, I also run, let's say, pay-per-click campaigns on Facebook. So if I know, going back to the example that I gave about the custom wheels, if I know that those guys, they like rap music, and I can do like a lookalike audience campaign and then target, let's say, people that actually like the Eminem, they also buy custom wheels. And that's actually a fact. I run campaigns that I got leads for like pennies. It's very cheap because I knew what they liked, so I could do those lookalike campaigns. So I ask this to, of course, in location too. Sometimes you sell to the US, sometimes you sell to the whole globe, sometimes just to the East Coast or to the West Coast. You need to know this kind of stuff, right? And again, I still ask more questions about the customers. What do they like, dislike? One thing here that's very interesting, very, very interesting. Why it's important to know this too, because let's say usually the guys that like let's say the off-road stuff, it's not like the guys that like the tuning cars. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes the guys that like muscle cars, they don't get along with the guys that like off-road. So sometimes you do campaigns specific to each group, each niche inside your business, and I do that a lot too. And this is important too. What's your current relationship with them? And why I ask this, because I think the golden rule for social media is connect first and do the sale after. If they are trying to do like the sale first and then the connect later, it's not gonna work. Sometimes it's much easier for you to do stuff for the people that are already in the industry, that they know the industry and they know that they have a relationship with their customers, than someone that is just trying to make a quick buck. From who are they currently and potentially buy from? And this is extremely important, very, very, very important, because one of the things that I do too is I go check and do some market analysis and do some research about the competition to see how tough it's going to be to get into this market and how we're going to compete with them. What are we going to do better than what they are doing? How we're going to, be, a strong player on that market. And what makes them ideal? Makes those customers ideal for you? What's the return rate? Focus on new or returning visitors. That's important too. I know, for instance, when I get a new client on my custom wheels business, usually they can only come back like 2-3 years or 4 years later. They don't buy, like as I say, going back to the pizza example, they don't buy every week. It's something that they're gonna buy 2, 3, 4 years later. And here's how I wanna give a pause here, and I'm gonna recommend this to you guys. It's called the 0 Moment of Truth. It's a Google book. If you are in the online business to sell stuff, this is really interesting subject, because it tells you, for instance, let's say, I think I mentioned Josh this before. If you are buying a house, you may take 6 months if you are buying a house for yourself, not for investments, right? So this is more understanding the psychology behind the online sale. So highly recommend you guys take a look at this this Google website called Zero Moment of Truth. A lot of great reports here and great information about the customer, how the process of buying. Of course, now is a special case because the economy and the what we are living right now is kind of scary, but still this is regular day times. This is applied to a lot of things. So going back here, if you guys have any questions or anything, don't wait until the end. Go ahead and ask. So here's I told you guys that the number 2 mistake was making the website to your own taste instead of your customers, and that's the second mistake is, and usually this is like by far the number 1 reason projects delay. The project that I work is because either the customer, my client doesn't have the content ready, or whoever is responsible for the content doesn't have that content ready, right? So this is the number 1 reason the web development project that I work got delayed, is because they don't have the content. So why is important? Content is king. Way too often clients forget to think about the about sites content. That's like very, very true. So what is content? Sometimes they don't know what is content. They don't know where this information is going to come from, where I'm going to get these feeds. For instance, the website that I show you guys, the one that had like 1 million products, we had to collect product information from very different sources. The BMW provider, that is the VW provider, that is the Audi provider. So they all come with different feeds, and then you have to convert that and then import into WooCommerce. So this is something that they forget about, and then something that takes time and is consuming to do it, right? And that's another thing too. Sometimes they already have a website or something, then you have like legacy data that you need to bring it over from an old system or something. That's another thing that you have to take in consideration too. Do you need to do a content review, add to contributors? And sometimes you have like a content publishing flow where people need to add the content, and then someone else goes there and then publish the content and all that. So things that you have to keep in mind. And who's in charge of each content? Is there an approval process? Very important to understand too. Do you have image files, videos? What do you have now, and what do you need to produce? What you need to have a hire photographer to take pictures, right? Will you be doing blog posts? If not, why? If yes, why? This kind of things. It's important. Maybe for SEO is very important. Are there virtual downloadable products, paid or free? That and this already getting to when I don't even think about any WooCommerce plugin or WordPress plugin at this point. I'm just asking in general. But based on the answers that I get from them, okay, then I know this plugin may work for them, or that plugin may work for them. Do you have artwork, logos, graphics, image? And then here I'm going to the design and look and feel of the website. I like this. I know this lady, Nile. She made this blog post compiling all the free and paid stock photos. Really interesting, because sometimes customers doesn't have pictures or graphics available. So this link here is really interesting. A lot of resources for you to build a website there. And how many pages of content do you expect? The other day, I got a client, not a client. He wants to build a website, right? And he wants to migrate a website. And he showed me the front end, but the front end we only saw like 8 or 10 pages. But then I went into Google and I did site let's just give an example here. And then here I can see, oh, this site has over 19,000 pages. So it's different, right? So sometimes you see something in the front end, but you actually, there's a lot of pages that are not like easily seen on the front end. So it's important to understand how many page templates you have to design, right? Then I jump into the look and feel and functionality, and this is more like our arena, right? Where we jump into this, and it's important to avoid scope creep. And the scope creep is not a bad thing entirely, I believe, because especially if they are paying you by the hour and are okay with change, I don't mind. If he wants to change now, instead of doing this, doing that, it's fine. But if you have like a fixed price, it could be a problem, right? So back in the day, I remember when I was building websites, I gave a quote without having any clue about this, and I probably made less money than working on a McDonald's or something like that. So do you have a vision of how the site will work? Do you have a branding we need to be aware, call of friends, and this kind of stuff? Have you thought about accessibility? Very important these days. And I gave a talk last week online for the Las Vegas Digital Marketing Meetup about accessibility. It's very important now. Are there website competitors? What do you dislike about them? Do you have a site? What's working? What's not working? What else I ask? Are there any unique design feature elements on individual pages? This kind of stuff is where we know things can get complicated. Like I showed here, to build something like this is not that simple. This vehicle parts filter here, maybe it's something that they want to build, and then they think it's something easy to do it, and it's not that easy to make it, right? Yeah. This is very important too. What integration do you need? Right nowadays, we know that we need to make system talks to each other, right? A Facebook pixel, or I don't know, some campaign that you are running on Google that you want to have, the Google Pixel also fine to run remarketing campaigns, or maybe you are tracking affiliate traffic that was sent to you, that you need to track that and pay the commissions and this kind of stuff. So it's important to go over this kind of information with your client. What are the product sets you sell, and do you know what the responsive design is? Believe it or not, a lot of people don't understand that what a responsive design is. Sometimes they especially they only think about the website still, nowadays, even though 80% of the traffic comes from cell phones, they think the design as the desktop version first instead of the mobile first, and we have to change that, right? Then I think it's the one before the last one is the budget. So this is we are almost done here. So the go live step, why it's important. Very often client has no clue who the site is, and need to be an ongoing process that needs ongoing attention. And here's, do you already have a hosting account? Sometimes you have to move them out of a shared hosting to an AWS account or a DigitalOcean account or something like that, right? Do you already have a domain? Where is your domain registered? Will you require set up emails? They don't think about this question. Sometimes it's easy and simple for us, but sometimes the client doesn't understand that. We need to know this kind of information, right? You currently have stats, Google Analytics, server logs needed. Because why I ask this? Because sometimes, we see a lot of people using like cheap hosting, and the website is down most of the time, or very slow, or something like that. So I ask those questions, and I think that is one also. Also, I asked them about Google Search Console and sitemaps. That's very important for SEO. Do you need your current site to continue up while you build a new one? And here's one thing that can get things complicated. And I'm going to tell you why. For instance, I was working on a project, It was an existing e-commerce website that we are building a redesign and create a new design. And at some point, we would have to import all the orders and the product, the legacy products that they have, and merge with the current products that they had add to the new website. So this is something that things can get complicated, right? If you have already a current website, and then at some point you need to pause that site, put that site under the maintenance mode, do a backup, restore, and then apply all the design that you did, or all the change that you applied to it, and then move that site to production and turn it on, right? So this is one of the very important questions too. This is one thing that people forget a lot. Let's say they have a website, an e-commerce site in Zencard, and now we are migrating that to WooCommerce, and now the URL structure is completely different. So we need to set up those redirections, right? So you don't lose the SEO juicy of the current website. Who will maintain your site hosting, security, and backups? And that's another thing too. When you use WordPress or WooCommerce, you take advantage of this software that is already built by someone else. But this is, as we know, it keeps getting new updates. That is like maybe a security issue, or maybe a new feature or something. Or WordPress has a roadmap where they apply new functionality, and then you need to update. So back in the day when I built a website, I remember I built a website and I didn't touch like for years until I do an update. When you do a WordPress website, and we know because WordPress is so popular, a lot of hackers target them. So there is also new security issues discovered on plugins that we need to find out. Actually, a couple of days ago, there is the two most popular SEO plugins are the Yoast and the Rank Math. And Rank Math just got hacked and had like 200,000 websites hacked. So it was crazy, about this. So I mean, I'm also kind of freaky about security. So, okay, sorry. Go back here. All right. That's questions. Post-launch monitoring performance for 4 years, this kind of stuff after you launch the website. And this is another thing too. I remember I had a client in Brazil. I'm originally from Brazil. That they launched a website, and the website was featured on a TV show there, like Oprah here. And the site had like a huge spike on traffic, and they went down, right? So you need to know, okay, do I need to think about, auto scaling and, load balancing and those kind of things, or the traffic is going to be pretty much the same? So you have to think about this kind of stuff. Last one is the budget and timeline, right? This is very important here, where, show me the money, right? Let's talk about money now. And why is this important? I think this is important to keep both perspectives, mine and my client, on the same page, that I get paid what I'm worth, and to save time. Because sometimes they just don't have the budget, to afford you. Maybe they need to go to a different solution, go to, I don't know, Wix, or go to something else, or maybe Shopify. It's better suitable for them because there is not much custom work, custom development that needed, right? So I don't waste time, and I ask them up front. I'm not afraid to ask them, do you have a budget? How much do you think this is going to cost you? And this kind of things, And then I also give them alternatives, right? I ask them for possible ways to stay within your parameters by simplifying things. Or if I know that this is going to be complicated, I'm going to offer them this other, option, so we can keep the budget. And also, as we know, there is also the minimum valuable product, right? That we can do this, if they don't have that much money. So how can we work things out and to perhaps do stuff in phases? Phase 1, phase 2, this kind of things, right? That's another interesting question too. Have you done a similar project or know someone who did? Because, for instance, I know as a fact that build a website like this is not easy at all. Otherwise everybody would have a website like this, with thousands of products, with 8,000 different vehicles, and searching. When you search it's super fast and all that. So I know that this is kind of hard to build a website like this. So I asked them these questions, because and if I have experience on that, I have an experience on this kind of project. Is a lot easier when you build something for the first time. It's kind of a new frontier, right? You don't know much about what you're gonna expect, but when you already have an experience on that, it makes so much easier, right? Yeah. This is interesting too. Who is the final decision maker? Sometimes you work with a project manager and they say, oh, do this, do that, and do this kind of stuff. But then the owner comes up and say, oh, I don't like this, I don't like that, and then rebuild everything, right? So it's interesting to not only know who is the final decision maker, but when are you making the final decision? And how can I help them make a decision? This is interesting too. Examples of cost and all time that impact in the project. So if they have examples of cost and all time that can impact in the project, and I can also give them examples of this too, And also interesting to have Gantt charts. This is a really interesting tool, Gantt charts, if you can do this and use that in your project. But this is another interesting thing that I want to divert here a little bit, and I didn't put here yet. I've been using a lot. I don't know if you guys heard about this too, but I think this is the best thing after, I don't know, beer. Man, I love this. I simply love this. I've been using this with some clients, and it's kind of Trello, but the beauty of this is you actually go to, they give you feedback. Once you launch a website or have a website there, they can give you feedback, right? So you can see stuff like this. Oh, they can add, comments and screenshots, and you can also see, oh, it works for me, it doesn't work for them. So if you go into the additional info, I don't know if you guys can see this. Hope you can see this. You can see also like the details. Oh, this guy's using a Mac OS, a Chrome, and his resolution, this kind of stuff. Especially when you're doing the look and feel thing, I highly recommend you do this. This is been speeding up my development process a lot. It's totally worth it. It's called Bug Herd, and where the customer can give me feedback, and I can talk to them, add comments, grab screenshots, have the page where they are, the different resolutions and all that. So that's another tool. It's not about the budget and timeline. It's more like into the look and feel and appearance of your website. But I highly recommend you guys starting to use this. I'm obligating all my new clients to use this. I only accept new clients if they use Bug Herd. So, and I don't get any money on this. Someone made a comment or something. So let's go back to this. Any questions? I think after this, yeah, additional resources for you to learn more. I listed 0 moment of truth here. Believe it or not, the U.S. Small Business Administration has a lot of great resources, and I linked some other articles there that I liked, further reading on this. 7 things you need to do before launching an online store, 25 ways to make your first online store, how to start a business online, 3 steps to launch. So it's good for your client to understand this kind of stuff. Those are like really good resources. I like to watch Shark Tank and The Profit, and a bunch of the things that I wrote here I actually got from watching those 2 TV shows. And the conclusion, the bottom line is there is a lot you need to know and to do and do work. There is a lot you need to know and do before work on your website. Make a business plan, research your competition, and think about how to attract visitors and make them become a returning customer. If you have a tight budget, try the MVP approach. And motivation plus know-how equals success. There is a link. I gave this presentation for the digital marketing meetup and for the WooCommerce meetup. If you guys want to download this presentation, this is the link. So I don't know if you can, take a screenshot. I can give to Josh later on, so you can he can share with all you guys. Questions, comments before I jump into WooCommerce. Do we have time, right, Josh? Is it until 8?
Yeah.
All right. So any questions or comments on this?
How much is the cost for that bug herd tool? And does that give customers the ability to get feedback, or is it really just for
your look, you can add as many members as you want. I think they have different price points. Let me take a look here. I don't know if I can. Maybe I need to load up pricing. Yeah, it's $39. You can have unlimited guests. But the only difference is guests, they can only add new bugs, but they can't comment or change, move them around here, the status and this kind of stuff, right? So you see, you can have unlimited guests, but members is only 5. Members are actually people that are doing stuff on the website. You can have your customers as a guest. So I'm using those, and then once the project is done, I just delete and then start over with a new client. I'm using for all of them. I love this tool, man. I love this tool. And let me show you how it works. I can show you really quick here. This is So this is I'm rebuilding this guy's website, and you see here it shows up as an overlay, so I can see the backlog, see the tasks that are done and everything. I can add a new one. If I have a question about let's say, let me add a new one here. I want to ask about this. Where this car icon links to. And then I can say normal, assigned to Rick. And
so is this a bit of JavaScript you have to drop on the site, or like a plugin you have to
install? It could be either way. You could have as a Chrome extension, you see right here. Or you can add that as a JavaScript that you can add to the header of your website. But this is super cool because see, I can mouse over stuff and I see what it was done, what is pending, and all that. You see, this before. Remember, you used to maybe do Slack or do by email and go back and forth with people, about something, about an issue. When this is right away, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I love this thing here, man. I love this. Any other questions? No questions? So can I move on? Until what time we have, Josh?
I'd say about 15 more minutes, and then we'll wrap
15?
it up.
All right. So let me. I have a sample store here, a sample WooCommerce store. What is it? Yeah, I have this. This is like a demo store that I play around with it whenever I want to do something. It's just I downloaded WooCommerce, from WooCommerce.com, and I play around the plugins and stuff like that here. It's super easy to install it and to go through the setup process. And I think if you are new to this, and the main thing here is you wanna have things done quick. Maybe it's not 100% the way that you want, but you want to do things quick and save money, especially because if you build an e-commerce store from scratch, it's going to cost a lot of money, right? So for the small businesses that doesn't have a big budget or something, and they want custom stuff, I like WooCommerce a lot. It may not be for everyone, but there are so many good plugins out there, and the capability to hook into the code and add functionality, remove functionality, makes my favorite e-commerce software. So the other presentation that I have for you guys here, and this one is a little shorter. I went through my. I will talk about myself. So I went through my favorite plugins after I installed the WooCommerce store, and I divided them into those categories: marketing, and I divided the marketing in front end and back end. Front end more into like the store, the catalog, the cart, and the checkout page, and back end with more towards admin stuff and automation. Then payment gateways, security, very important to be on top of the security for your store, shipping, and utilities. And marketing also includes SEO stuff. So here are the list of my favorite WordPress and WooCommerce plugins. If you have a store that is very large, you can't use a backup plugin. You have probably to have to do through the command line or something like that, like the one that I show you guys, the car parts. I'm doing through command line. I can't do this because those plugins, they can't handle 1 million products, a large database. So I listed here all the plugins that I use and I like. Facet WP is one of my favorites. It helps you to like filter information, and I can show you really quick here an example. This is a local business here, dancevision.com, and they have this library. They sell online courses for people that wants to learn ballroom dancing. So here, this is using actually WP Facet. So if you want to go to a specific, let's say I'm Brazilian, so I want to learn samba. So I'm using WP Facet here for this. It's kind of like filtering and just showing the results that are like based on the selection that I made, right? So all of this is WP Facet. Let's see another one that is interesting. Oh, follow-ups. Follow-ups is one of my favorite plugins, especially if you have like recurring customers coming back to your store, because what it does is it sends like automated emails. Let's say the guy bought let's say dog food, and so he bought dog food a month ago. So you know that dog food is gonna last for 30 days. You can automatize to send an email to that customer 30 days after to say, hey, do you want to buy another, a pack of dog food or something like that? And here's 10% discount or something like that. Follow-ups is awesome. It's also great for cart abandonment. If you have people that add stuff to your cart but they don't check out, it's a great tool. They have a great tool for that too. Gravity Forms is one of my favorite WordPress. Forms plugin. It's not only for WooCommerce, it's for WordPress too, but it's highly customizable. You can customize a lot this. And this is an example that I'm going to show you guys here. It's probably not going to work because the COVID virus out there. But for instance, those guys. Let's see if it will. Probably not going to work. Oh yeah. So they closed. But I built a whole. I think I have under my. Let me see. I have it here. Let's see. Oh yeah, I have to. I know what it is. I redirect them if they are not logged in. I redirect to. Let me see if they have any movies here. So what I did is this is oh yeah. So let's see if I can go. Yeah. They have dates here. That is one. So yeah, I can't show you guys because the COVID they took out all the but I did a lot of customization using WooCommerce and Gravity Forms to make a website like Fandango, where you can buy movie tickets. We built everything using WooCommerce and Gravity Forms. All the ticket selection thing. Adults or child or seniors. We did a lot of with using Gravity Forms, and Gravity Forms is amazing. It's a paid plugin, but I think it's totally worth it, because if it's hard to make something like that. They also have this Gravity Forms product add-on. If you ever went to Dell.com to buy a laptop or something, you probably already saw there that they have like those forms where, I want 8 gigabytes of RAM, I want i7, I want to 1 gigabyte of SSD, and then they create the product on the fly for you. This is the product add-ons. It's very interesting. Payment gateways, there is a bunch of, the most popular ones are out there. My favorite is, of course, Stripe. I love Stripe. One of the favorites. One thing that I want to cover here is this ShipStation guy here. ShipStation is a great way for you to create labels fast and to send information. Let's say once you pick an order, you already send the information to FedEx for them to pick up the order or something like that. No? It's free. Highly recommend you take a look at this, especially if you have a high volume of orders. I did a website for a guy once that they had like 5,000 orders per day, and we use this ShipStation thing here. It's amazing. Highly recommend you guys take a look at this. The tier 1 redirects, I say again, it's very important because especially if you are redesigning a website, you want to keep the URLs consistent. WP Better Emails is also good because the out of the box WooCommerce emails are like ugly, so you can make them look better using this one. There is a bunch of WooCommerce checkout and reports and stuff. One of my favorites is this, actually, WooCommerce Domination. It's a very simple plugin, but if you are building a store using WooCommerce and the main activity in the backend is to manage the store, if I go back here, you're gonna see that I have this is different setup. You see, I don't see pages and posts here anymore. What I see is orders and products, because this is mainly an e-commerce website, not a content management website, right? So what it does is it changes the order and put the posts down here, pages and posts, you see, and put the orders and products on top. This is for me, I think it's one of my favorites because of that. You save time, especially if you go there maybe 10 times, 20 times per day. It's going to save you a lot of time. The WooCommerce Google Analytics integration is awesome. They improved a lot this. Actually, I think the guy that, let me see, is taking care of this. Yeah, this guy, he's a fellow Brazilian. He's my friend. He's really good. Don't worry about the bad reviews here because he improved a lot this. And it's tracking a lot of things. It's going to a level of that even like if the guy entered the email, that kind of stuff, so you can, track that and track a lot of advanced stuff with this. Highly recommend you guys use that one. What else? Yeah, usually I like to use iTheme Security for security. Yoast is my favorite still SEO plugin. Oh, and by the way, if you know anyone that wants to have a free SEO course, Yoast is giving their online course for free, SEO training. What is it? They are giving this one for free. I think that let's see. I think there was something else over here that they're giving for free. SEO training. I think maybe it's this one here. I think this is Academy one they're giving for free. Let me see. I thought they gave for free some stuff here. But it's good. Yoast is my favorite still, And the Yoast, he's a SEO guy first, then a WordPress guy. So I can recommend you guys do that. Marketing for storefront. Then this list here that I have here, I actually went down and I linked them all here, and I gave some information. If you want customers to log in using their Facebook and Amazon, this kind of stuff. Some plugins for the back end for product reviews is a good one for you to take a look. Custom logins to make it look professional, the back end, what else? Oh, there is a comparison here also of all the different plugins, the different payment gateways. Security, that's what I do usually. Utilities, I went through that, and I think this is pretty much it. Bottom line, plugins are great tools, but are not magic wands. So you need to take your time to read the documentation, experiment, and work hard using them to make your online store profitable. Always use a plugin from reliable sources that offer legit support and that keep them up to date. That's important too. There are like thousands and thousands and thousands of plugins out there, and sometimes it's time consuming to understand the difference between them. And some I did this before. I remember back in the day, a customer wanted to create like a marketplace, and there is like maybe 5 or 6 very robust marketplace plugins for WooCommerce, and then I had to go through all of them. I created a Google spreadsheet, and I put all the features, even like code quality. I want to take a look to the code quality, how easy it is to hook stuff to this and customize. Sometimes you need to do this, but I think it's way more affordable to build an online store using this and then just customizing later on for you than building everything from scratch. It's not for everything, as I said. It's not the solution for everyone. Sometimes you have to build something from scratch, but for, as I say, for small for small to medium sized business, this is the solution for you. And if you want to take a look at those plugins later on, I have this link here too. I'm gonna share with Josh, and then you guys can take a look here. If you have a store and you have a favorite plugin or something that you want to share and I want to add to my presentation, please let me know. And this is it. I'm ready for questions. If you guys have any questions or anything, if you want to talk to me after the presentation, I am emanweb everywhere, EMANWEB, on Twitter, on Slack, on everywhere. So just let me know on Skype or Facebook. And this is it. Thank you very much, and I hope you guys could learn from me today. Not much a dev talk, I understand, but I guess nobody's perfect, right, Josh?
No, that was a great talk. I mean, there's so much to cover, like you mentioned, when it comes to building something like that, and really seems like you've been through the ringer a couple of times. So.
Oh yeah. Man, I made a lot of mistakes before, and we learn with our mistakes, right? So what's the point of making the same mistake over and over, right? You have to do new mistakes, right? New stuff. So this is there is a lot of experience behind those slides there, and I still have stuff to learn. I'm still learning and still improving those that questionnaire that I have. With a bunch of questions, I once in a while I go there, revisit and add new stuff, change stuff, and I hope you guys enjoy this.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Alrighty. Let me do the raffle, I guess, this way. What I would say is in the chat here, please drop your name. I think we have a question, actually. Is it possible to use WooCommerce just for its checkout and cart? For example, creating a custom PHP application, but integrate the WooCommerce cart only. Yeah, that's an interesting question. You mean like not even using WordPress altogether? I don't know if it's built independent. I think it's probably pretty tied in with WordPress, but perhaps I know there is like that API, like you mentioned, Manny. So maybe you could have it running on another server and pull the products in via the API and all that sort of stuff. I know there's probably quite a few others, but I know Silas is something built in Symfony that's for e-commerce as well. Probably a little bit more programming that would be needed than just point and click, but I see they're doing like a free kind of thing too because of all this COVID-19 stuff. So, I mean, one question I have is like, is it Wix that you mainly point people to that have like a low budget to start a website?
Shopify.
What's that?
I usually recommend go to Shopify.
Shopify, yeah, that seems to be the biggest one, huh? Yeah. As far as SEO too, and while I'm asking this question, if you do want to enter into the raffle, please go into the chat here. It's in the bottom left, and please input your name, and then I'll take over the screen here, and we'll run the raffle for the 1 month Symfony subscription, as well as the 1 year JetBrains subscription. So one last question I have here, Manny, about SEO, which is that could be a 2-hour discussion in itself. I use Yoast plugin as well, and I got to check out that course that they offer because there's probably some valuable information there as well. But other than just installing the plugin, are there some go-to things you do with the plugin to boost SEO?
Well, here's the problem. If you use the free version of Yoast, it doesn't add that product schema to the products. The HTML markup for products, you have to actually have the paid one. That's one of the problems. They don't have the free one on that. So I highly recommend you get the paid one, because then you can get the juice from when you see the code, the HTML code that the WooCommerce generates. You have all the schema markup there for products, and that helps a lot,
Yeah, I definitely I bought the professional one, but it's still SEO to me. It seems more like you mentioned, content is king. And one thing I struggle with, especially with my clients, is convincing them to write content regularly.
Yeah.
I mean, are there services or anything out there trying to find a copywriter?
Yeah. The problem with that is the benefits of doing right SEO, you're only gonna see like 3-4 months later, sometimes 5-6 months, depending on the competition, right? So that's tough. Sometimes you have to convince them that they have to invest time on building good SEO.
Yeah. I mean, and like you mentioned, it's not always so easy when you have to wait so long to see the results. But yeah, I mean, it takes years to get on that page one if you have no presence to start with.
Yeah. What I like to do too is take a look at the competition. What the competition is doing as far as SEO. Go to their website, and then see how tough it's gonna be, to do it, to beat them.
One last question we have here is from Devin, who's an awesome member of our meetup. He says, do you feel the Yoast plugin's worth it, or should we just add the schema through WordPress hooks?
Well,
is a huge game. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think it depends, right? If you have the skills and knowledge to do it yourself, you could do it. But remember, anytime that Google change anything on that schema markup or something like that, you have to adapt to your code too. So yeah, take a look. You can and see if it's easy for you to build and hook them up. Yeah.
And I guess my last one more question I have: do you have places that you go to try to get backlinks or cross links or anything like that. You know, because one strategy I was thinking for some clients is trying to go to, you know, some of these, they're basically like link farms, you know, you pay them and they will post it on their kind of like, you know.
Yeah, my favorite tool for that is called Ahrefs. If you are into that, I recommend you do this, you know, Ahrefs.
Ahrefs, okay.
Yeah, it's a great tool. It's a subscription, but they're gonna help you a lot, guide you to the right places to get good backlinks, you know.
Gotcha.
And can I go to also into this drawing or not?
Yeah, absolutely. Justin, did you want to jump into this, or are you good?
I'm good.
Okay. You said no? I think I heard.
Yep, I'm good. Feel free to go ahead and run the thing, Josh.
Let's let it roll then. So what we'll do is basically whoever hits first here can choose from one of the two prizes. Again, the prizes are Symphony Casts. So they are a awesome resource of basically anything and everything to do with Symphony. It's very much copied from Laravel Cast, I'm sure. But basically, this is a great resource. I've been looking at, for example, their Stripe integration and how to like build it, and they have like a whole course about how to integrate it with Symphony. And what's even greater is it comes with the code, comes with videos, all that great stuff, but you need a membership to access the videos and code. So we'll be giving away a 1-month membership to this, and then obviously our buddies at JetBrains make the best IDEs out there for developing, and we'll be giving away a 1-year license to the IDE of your choice, really. But I would hope you go with PHP Storm because we're all PHP geeks here, right? So one thing I just wanted to mention before we run the raffle is Nomad is running a Midwest PHP's conference here on tomorrow. Tomorrow. And some of the things are free. Not everything's free, but they do have a lot of the beginner tracks, I believe, are all free. If you want to go with some of the more advanced tracks, it looks like you have to get a $20 a month Nomad subscription, but I'll probably check out some of the beginner talks tomorrow, so definitely check that out. So let's run the raffle here. Looks like I'm going to I was testing it. All right, here we go. And we'll do a little drum roll. All right, Ben Denzer. Congratulations.
So, sweet. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I'll take the JetBrains.
Okay, sweet. I'll grab your email here at the end so I can get that over to you.
Sure. Sounds good.
And our next winner, which if you do get picked again, Ben, I'm sorry. We're going to have to honor that.
Sounds good.
And Ruben. Ruben, are you online here? I think there's the R there. Yeah, you're probably on mute, but congratulations. So if you could just drop me your emails here in the chat, we'll make sure you both get emailed your prizes. And I'm not aware of anything huge happening in the PHP realm right now. But does anybody know of anything that's kind of killer that's kind of come out recently or interesting? And also kind of opening it up for topics for next month's probably still remote meetup, depending on how things go at the end of this month. Yeah, I saw there's some new RFCs for PHP 8, but PHP 8's probably still not going to be out till late next year, I imagine. But there's the talk of the JIT compiler getting put into it, and that's going to be a huge performance boost if that does happen. So that'll be pretty big for PHP if we get there. I'd love if somebody did a talk on Swool, which is the asynchronous stuff with PHP, but I'm not sure if anybody's had familiarity with it. But if we can't think of any topics now, what I'd say is we can. I know we did have a Swool talk about a year ago, but who did that? I guess I forgot who it was. Oh, next month we'll get Cal Evans to speak, who's a pretty big name in the PHP community. Cal, I think it was actually, I think it was you, Devin, that forwarded like a tweet or whatever. But he's reaching out to user groups and stuff like that to speak. So I'll be reaching out to him to get one of the hours blocked off because he's an amazing speaker. And I think, in fact, one of the organizers for Nomad as well. So I will reach out to him. But I guess if we don't have any topics, then I will go ahead and sign things off here. So yeah, there's also Livewire. I think Devin, didn't you I think did one on that. Didn't somebody touched base on Livewire? I'd love to see an updated talk about that though. That'd be another interesting topic. But yeah, so I appreciate you all coming out. I know things are kind of stressful now with everything going on, but I have faith, this will all kind of pass here in a month or two. So we all just got to keep positive and stay hopeful and make sure that you make contact, call the people that you don't normally reach out to. I've been kind of trying to make that a habit, once every couple of days to call somebody I haven't talked to in a while, and really reach out and make sure, your network's doing good. And, we'll all make it through this together. This isn't going to be Lonely Island here. We have to all band together to make sure that all of us pull through. So appreciate you all, and we'll catch you at the next meetup here on May 7th. All right, fantastic. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Good night, guys.
See ya.
See ya.
Ruben, can you please share your email? I did not see that. Thank you. Yep, thank you. Congratulations, guys. And if you didn't win tonight, check out next month because we'll do the same giveaways.
Thanks, man. That was a good one.
Take care.
Dad, you done? We made cookies.